Hello, this is a tutorial for first-person shooter button activation or interactables, if you want. That's like Half-Life style interactions when you press E on a little button or something like that. Yeah, if you let's just check it out, how it looks like, how it should look like. So this is, don't mind the other stuff, I was experimenting a bit in there. This is what should happen essentially. There's like a trace and it activates stuff. And I didn't see a tutorial for first-person shooter stuff like this on the web. This is just, you might know this map already from my Physics Collision Sound Acid from the update video. And yeah, this is essentially just a button press, nothing more. The project that we're gonna make here is going to be on Gumroad. I'll upload it there. You can have it for free, or you can pay money if you want to. Just if you want to. I mean, it's a small project. You can just download it for free. Yeah, I didn't find any tutorials, so I thought, why not make one myself? Because there are only like third-person tutorials where they run into a trigger box, and if you press a button while standing inside that box, then the light activates or something like that. And this is a little more complex than that. And yeah, I struggled in the beginning when I started out with Unreal with something like this. So let's get started. This should be a sphere. Why is this not a sphere? Sphere. Yeah, never mind. So it's a cube, doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is... Oh, by the way, this is like a 50 subscriber special. Yeah. No, it's... never mind, it's just a normal tutorial video. Yeah, so in our first-person template, I set up a level here, and essentially this, when I press E on this button, nothing happens. This actor is frozen, the light stays on, and we want to change that. We want the lights to turn off. We want the ability to turn off multiple lights and unfreeze stuff or whatever you want to add to the blueprint. It's expandable, or not expandable. Yeah, I think you know what I mean. You can change stuff and it will work with everything. So let's go into our blueprint folder, add a new blueprint, actor component, so that we can add the blueprint, the actor component, to every actor that we want, and call this BP underscore interactable. Go in there and add a function. Activate, call this activate stuff, and compile and hit save, close it again. Now we have to activate this function on that actor. The first thing we want to do is drag in BP Interactable on this button, or the cube, whatever. Go into our first person actor. So, okay, now we want to add a key press, E. You can, of course, use any key you like. And of course we could just do, we have only one of these interactables in this level, so we could just cast to the interactable blueprint, but that's not what we want. We want to just activate it when we're looking at that specific actor that has this interactable blueprint. So let's do this. We'll go in here, drag out and type in line trace by channel. Line trace by channel. Get the camera, first person camera, top left. And we need the world location. Get world location. This is our starting point from where our line trace starts. And we need a endpoint. And that will be our get world rotation. And to that rotation we'll need, from that rotation we need the get rotation x vector. And we need to add some length to it. So it starts from the first person camera, takes the rotation, and we want to add a distance to that vector. So we'll just multiply it by a float so that it gets longer. And oh yeah, I already set up an interaction range float here. So if you, sorry for that, just add a new, add variable, interaction range, and change it to a float and make it public so that we can change it when we click on our actor, on our first person character. So just put it on there and it gets connected automatically. And we want a default range, the interaction range. I set it to 250. If this isn't there yet, you can just compile and then this field here should be there. Just type in 250, that's about 2.5 meters. And yeah, now we have the distance from it and we want to add it to our get world location. So it's a float, vector plus vector. Drag this in here and drag this to the endpoint. Okay, to see this line trace while we are editing these settings, we can just set this to for duration so that it gets drawn for a little duration. So if I press E, this is our 2.5 meter line trace. And if I press E on my stuff here, it doesn't do anything. But if I press E and look here, you can see that it is not actually on the point that I want to hit it. It's a little bit above the crosshair. So to adjust this, we can drag this out a bit, and we can add or subtract a vector from this one. Drag this in here so that it's between these two. And from the Z, so the axis that goes up and down, we just add a 0.05 or subtract a 0.05, and when we go in here you'll see nearly hits the crosshair. It's very close. So of course you can adjust this as all you like, so to make it more precise. So what we need now is we can split the hit result. We could split it here, but we're going to need this in an extra window to change it later on for another solution to make this more precise or more dynamic. So we need a isValid node so that we don't get spammed by error messages that it didn't hit an actor. Go in here, hit actor, put this in there. Then we need a get component class. Get component by class. Singular. If you do components by class, that's gonna be an array, but we don't not want an array. Then look for interactable, BP interactable, put this in there. Then from the isValid, make a cast to interactable, cast to BP interactable. There it is. Drag this in there. And from that we want to start our activate stuff function. So just drag this out and type activate stuff. So now we have all this logic. It looks for, it does the line trace. It looks if the thing we hit has the in BP interactable, and it activates the function activate stuff. We can double click the activate stuff and go in there. And what we need now is let's do a variable first, a normal variable, not local variable, just a variable. Type in light, make it public, go up here and change it to light. Scroll down for light, object reference. And now we want to change it to an array so that we can add multiple lights to it. So what we need now is we want to go through the light array. So we need a for each loop. Drag the variable, the light variable, onto this array field. And loop body with an isValid again, so that we don't get spammed by errors when it's not, when the light isn't set. Drag this in there. And isValid toggle visibility. This might not be there, then you have to uncheck context sensitive. Toggle visibility, but don't forget to check it again. This might help you a lot if you don't exactly know what works with what together. Then we just drag the array element on there and it gets us the root component automatically. Okay, so we compile this. We can go click on our compile this. It's important so that when we click on this actor and go into the BP interactable, we have this light field. If this isn't there, if this is just like a name box or something like that, and that's not an array, then you have to compile it again. So click on the plus, look for the spotlight. Let's hit play. And it works, it just works. No problems, it just works. Now let's see first if we can add another light. With Alt, we duplicate it. Another one. Go into the interactable blueprint again and then add 2 spotlights to it. And then go in here. Activate, deactivate, activate, deactivate. Yeah, and of course you can add multiple buttons and they can activate every one of these spotlights individually or everything at once. There's no problem. This, like, it just works. So if we want to unfreeze the box, for example, we can just go into our activate stuff function and add a sequence between these two. If you just drag it out from here, you can just add the sequence in between. So now we need another isValid. And we'll need a object reference. So let's call this fuzz object unfreeze. That's a long name. Make it public and look for static mesh actor, I think. Oh, static mesh actor, and it's an object reference, of course. Drag this in there. Oh, doesn't work. Doesn't work. Maybe it needs to be compiled. Let's just get. Oh, it's an array still. Maybe change this back to a single variable. Drag it on there. That works. Now we need set enable. Simulate physics. Let's go with simulate physics. Uncheck context sensitive. Set simulate physics. Simulate check. Click this checkbox. So this might work. Let's see. No, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? We don't have target. Just drag this on there and it gets the static mesh component for you automatically. Now hit play. And we didn't add it yet. So click on there. Go to this thing and look for cube. In my case it's cube 2. It's that actor. And press it and it falls down. But the problem is here, if I press it again and again and again and again, we're gonna get some error messages eventually, sometimes. And to not get any error messages, we just drag out. Okay, it depends. If you use gravity enabled, set gravity enabled instead of set simulate physics, you get error messages, and if you don't, you won't get error messages if you use set simulate physics. But let's just do this, add a branch, just to be sure that there won't be any bugs, because we're activating simulating physics again and again and again. I'm clicking on it. Add a variable, physics enabled, not public. Change it to a boolean and drag it in here. And this shouldn't be true, it should be false. So if it doesn't simulate physics, then it will activate the physics for you. And at the end here, we can just drag this on there and activate this button. So it just goes through one time, because after, when I press it a second time, the physics are already enabled here, this boolean, and it would go to the true thing, but that's not connected, so it should all work. So everything works. Little problem here is that if you are not so precise, that this might be annoying, so that if you press E a little above the target or a little below and you don't realize it, modern games don't have you to be so precise. So let's fix this. So we could go into our first person character and change this line trace to a capsule trace. Let's do this really quick. Capsule trace by channel. Disconnect this, and drag this in there, and that in there, this in there, and that in there. So we now use the capsule trace instead of the line trace, and let's see how this works with the duration enabled and a radius of about 10. So you see here, this is our capsule with a radius 10, and if I want to press E on this, it has like a much bigger hit range. So I can press E a little above the target and it still activates. One problem here is if I press E here, it might hit the floor segment first, and we don't want that. So we want the best stuff of both worlds. So we go in here and we want to have the, let's first go with the line trace again from before and connect everything like it was before. Drag this down here, leave these connected, the start and the end, and just copy this part down here and add this there. Okay, so what is happening? Okay, sorry for that. What is happening here? It's actually doing the same, but it's not connected yet, so we'll just add it to the is not valid node here and see what happens. An error happens. Let's see what's wrong. This is not connected. I forgot to connect the hit. Okay. So what's happening here? It's doing the capsule trace, but if it's hitting something, it's not doing the capsule trace. If it's hitting above, it's doing the capsule trace. That's fine. If I hit down here, or if I hit here, it won't do the capsule trace, but we will still want it to use the do the capsule trace. So we drag this over a little bit, add another is valid, and drag this in there. And if this is not valid, we'll go in here also. So it will also it will do the capsule trace and the line trace, even if I'm just hitting. See, it's hitting here. I'm actually going to the side of it and it's still doing the capsule trace, even though it's hitting the box below. So this is essentially it. Yeah, as I said, the project will be on Gumroad. If you want to download it, it's free. Link is in the description. Also check out my Physics Collision Sound asset on the marketplace. Link is also in the description. It's a pretty big system and I think it works pretty well. If you want to check it out, it's there. If you like the video, you can of course give it a thumbs up. Maybe it helps me a little bit, or even subscribe if you want to. Thank you for watching. Bye.